The great thing about early video games is that the rules hadn't yet been written. Sure, there were plenty of clones of arcade games or various iterations on stuff that was popular, but in amongst all of that you had bedroom coders smashing out the most bizarre ideas simply because they'd had them. This made a lot of those early games incredibly memorable, even when they weren't quite working as intended. Take Highway Encounter, for example. Highway Encounter's pitch is something that absolutely no publishing house would take on board today. It makes zero sense. You play as some sort of Dalek, and you have to push a pyramid to the end of a level. Also, there's a train of Daleks that move that pyramid forward constantly. And also, those Daleks are your extra lives. And also, aliens took over Earth. Highway Encounter, conceptually speaking, is like nothing else I've ever played. It's a stupid idea, it plays pretty stupidly, it's stupidly hard, and I stupidly love it. Run the intro. So, Highway Encounter. It's certainly a game, and it's not one I can really say an awful lot more about because, much like any ZX Spectrum game that adopts a 3D viewpoint, it's a bastard to control the damn thing. You, as a Dalek, which isn't really a Dalek, it's a thing called a Vorton, but I'm not going to call it that because it's blatantly a Dalek. According to the instructions, aliens have invaded Earth, and hilariously, there is only one road left. Can anyone fathom what sort of attack plan the aliens were spearheading here that allowed one single straight road to survive the apocalypse and nothing else? That's incredibly accurate and wildly unnecessary. Anyway, what you have to do here is push the pyramid, which is apparently a Lasertron, the world's most advanced weapon system, to Zone 0 in order to destroy the aliens and save Earth. Now, far be it from me to reiterate a point, but if there's only one road left on Earth, I'm pretty sure we're already in a bit of a sticky situation. Fail in your mission, and so saith the instructions, you'll face deadly consequences as the future of Earth rests in your hands. There is no future of Earth. There is one road. This being a ZX Spectrum game, the controls are placed wherever the hell they fancy. O and P turns clockwise and counterclockwise, while 1 and Q is accelerate and decelerate. Holding space will fire a blast of lasery goodness, which is good because all of the remaining aliens have congregated on this singular road, so you're going to need to do some blasting. Now, here's where things go mad. There are obstacles everywhere. Some of them are fairly benign, like a barrel that's blocking your path. Other things are nigh on unavoidable, such as this bouncing laser orb thing. Your train of Daleks will continue to move forward forever until an obstacle blocks them. This makes timing things an absolute nightmare. And remember, these simple idiots are also your extra lives, so when you wave goodbye to them all in the space of 3 or 4 screens, you'll soon come to realise that Highway Encounter isn't pissing about. I can't get very far in the game, truth be told. There's a section where you either need your Dalek train intact, or you have to be exceptionally accurate in order to push the Pyramid of Doom through 2 fire pits. My Dalek train has well and truly come off the tracks long before I reach this, and try as I might, I cannot line my last one up to save myself. Also, just to be clear, the pyramid is locked to the centre of the road. You can't shift your way around this obstacle. It's just the end of the road, metaphorically speaking. Now, one thing I can say about Highway Encounter is that while I'm terrible at the game, I absolutely love it. It's endearing. It's an insane idea. It's laughably wonky, but it does that wonkiness so well, I can't help but laugh when my train of stupidly excited Daleks gets absolutely hammered by another poorly timed laser beam. It's truly like nothing else. And that put me in mind of a sequel. What a sequel would do with this concept and how far they could push the idea. And it turned out there was a sequel. Not Highway Encounter 2, no. This time it's Alien Highway. Because why not? We wouldn't want people to think the games are related in any way. Who needs that kind of continuity in their lives? Alien Highway was developed by 2 completely different people, although still published by Vortex Software. Mark Haig Hutchinson created the sequel with help from Chris Clover, whereas the original was created by Costa Panayi with contributions from Will Rowlands. Why it was taken away from the initial creators, I don't know, but what I will say is this. Alien Highway is technically the better game, but it suffers from what I like to call Black and White 2 syndrome. You see, when Black and White first came out for PC, it was a critical success while also being incredibly ambitious with its ideas, leading it to be grossly unwieldy to play. This being a Lionhead joint, it was a god game with a Tamagotchi in it. Your goal in this game was to train your chosen animal to do the things that you do, such as murdering villagers or eating your own shit. It was a very cool idea, it sold very well, and it was so adamant at what it wanted to be that it didn't quite work properly. A lack of UI meant that understanding the current state of affairs was cumbersome at best. Your idiot animal would wander around shitting on everything when you just wanted him to do something useful. And the concept of the game was both the light that made the game stand out and the darkness that snuffed out the enjoyment. And then there was a sequel. The sequel was, technically, the better game, but it suffered from what I like to call Alien Highway syndrome. It shaved off its ambition and its ideas in order to make the game a smoother experience. Training your animal was easier, the UI made things simpler to understand, the game was paced better, but in the end, it became more generic as a result. Black and White was weird, and the weirdness of that concept lifted it higher than it would have reached otherwise. When people reminisce about Black and White, they reminisce about that original game, not the sequel. The sequel softened its weirdness. It diluted the concept in order to bring the game back toward the center ground. So we come back to Alien Highway. Gone is the Dalek train. No more will they push forth on this singular road that inexplicably still stands, even after the previous game's events. Here, you're alone. A singular Dalek on a road to, well, not victory. Again, the game is very difficult, but your task is much the same. Push that pyramid to the end. Immediately, you'll see that things have been rounded off here. Instead of lives, you have an energy bar. Instead of a singular path, the game features some small amount of randomization so that no two games are ever quite the same. It's slightly easier to control. You don't have to worry about losing lives that you could do practically nothing about. And yet, I can't help but be disappointed in the loss of those weird elements. Highway Encounter was bizarre and barely competent, while Alien Highway is merely competent. It's understandable that the developers would seek to make the game more accessible, but in doing so, they've left the train at the station to rust. My beautiful Dalek train, my wonderful, idiotic, conceptual line of useless tat. So in much the same way that Black and White 2 is the better game but loses the magic of Black and White, Alien Encounter is the better game, but it doesn't feature a silly conga line that absolutely wrecks your run in 3 screens. Should I be sad about that? Probably not. I'm sure they made the right decision, but I can't help but wonder if the sequel ends up leaning closer to a normal game, and as such, it's comparable. It's something you can line up against another similar game and say, well, it's better than that, or worse than that. Highway Encounter is incomparable. It's like nothing else I've ever played, for better or for worse. Highway Encounter is a concept pitch, and Alien Highway is a business decision. I do recommend that you try both games, but I already know which one you're going to remember.
Bugs Bunny. You like Bugs Bunny?
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny.
Pretty